Now, getting started, explain how the idea for EA to do a mixed martial arts game came about.
Well, we've been working on the game for about 2.5 years, and we're constantly looking at, as a company, looking at sports that are on the rise, and mixed martial arts is obviously on the rise. We actually have a great relationship with Randy Couture. He's been there since the beginning with us, and that was we're kind of the birthplace. We had a lot of guys on the team as well that are just really, big MMA fans that have been for a long time, and there's a lot of excitement around doing the game. So, that's kind of where the green light process started. And like I said, guys like Randy and Boss Rutan and folks that have legends in the sport have been there since the beginning, helping us mold the game. And then more recently, guys that are fighters as well as gamers like, King Mo and Jason Mayhem Miller have also provided a lot of great insight for us in making the game.
EA MMA features a roster primarily consisting of fighters from the Strikeforce and Dream promotions. What was the deciding factor in featuring these organizations in the game?
Well, we wanted to, when we made an MMA game, is really kind of, feature fighters, the best fighters from around the world. So, we have Randy Couture in the game, of course, but then we also, like you mentioned, we have a lot of Strikeforce fighters. We have Dream and Sengoku fighters in the game. We have some of the fighters from Bellator as well. We just really wanted to go out and get, as many of the best fighters in the world that we could to, create a roster where you could put up matchups together that, you may have never seen before or have not been able to happen because guys are in different promotions. So, and then putting Strikeforce in the game just made a lot of sense for us. We have a great relationship with Strikeforce. They've been a big advocate of our game, great partners to work with, and they're a fast growing promotion that with the signing of guys like Fedor and Dan Henderson, are quickly becoming a marquee name in mixed martial arts.
What went into the decision to feature Randy Couture and Fedor Emelianenko on the cover of the game?
Well, I think you look at it from the standpoint of marquee names in the sport, and a fight that a lot of people have wanted to see. That now it looks like you'll probably only be able to see or experience in our game. Randy Couture, a legend in the sport, a Hall of Famer and multi-time champion, and Fedor, one of the top heavyweights in the world, and over a course of time, top heavyweight in the last 10 years, if not ever. So, two marquee names in the sport, a legendary fight that people would love to see, which I think just made a ton of sense for us.
Now, give us some of the main features of EA MMA. What can the fans expect to see?
Well, it all starts with gameplay, and EA Sports is known for creating games that are accurate replications of the sport, of being very detail-oriented, and that's where it starts, and it really starts with our gameplay, which we really wanted to make very intuitive so that it wasn't really difficult to pick up the game. You don't have to remember a bunch of button combinations, but it just, you do things that feel right. What we wanted the challenge of the game to be is in the strategy and timing, the same way that it is in an actual fight. So, I think our gameplay maps very well to fighting. It's a very good fighting game first, and it's also a very good MMA game. And then, the other areas are in our career mode and what you get to experience as far as traveling the world and learning from different trainers like Boss Rutan and Hickson Gracie and Randy Couture, and really experiencing the global sport of MMA, whether it be Strikeforce or Japanese fighting in Japan with Japanese rules. And then one of the things that EA Sports is also known for is innovative online. We have the EA Sports Live broadcast feature where it's a mass spectator mode where you can participate in a fight that has live commentary that thousands of people can watch your fights. And a slew of other online modes where you can really customize your experience and have a good time with your friends. You can have, and then you can also face off against people that are of the same skill level. So we wanted to really have something for everybody throughout the game.
What mistakes that THQ made with the UFC series do you feel EA has been able to capitalize with EA MMA?
Well, I think the focus for us was on creating a game that was as accurate as we could to the sport of MMA. That also gave you feedback on what was going on during the fight. Our controls are like I mentioned, are very intuitive to what you would think you would experience within a fight. For instance, our submission mechanic. We wanted to make sure that you had good feedback to know whether you were actually getting a submission or not getting a submission. So, like in a choke submission, you're kind of looking for the sweet spot to sink in a submission, or trying to avoid the other person finding that sweet spot. And, that was basically based on feedback from fighters as far as like what you're experiencing when you're actually trying to sink in a submission or trying to avoid being submitted. So we wanted to make sure that our submission mechanics had feedback, so you knew kind of where you stood, and that you were it didn't take you out of the game. And we also wanted to make sure that we weren't creating a button masher. We wanted to make sure that everything you did was took skill and timing and strategy, so that you really felt like you were in a fight. And that when you fought someone online, it wasn't the person who could hit the button the fastest. It was really based on your fighting skills.
Now, will there be unlockable characters in EA MMA, and if so, will they differ between the Xbox 360 and the PS3 versions?
We don't have unlocks that are based on your console. We have some pre-order unlocks that we're offering. If you pre-order the game through GameStop, then you can unlock Herschel Walker. If you pre-order the game through Walmart, there's a classic Frank Shamrock character so there'll be a regular Frank Shamrock in the game, but then there's also a more classic version of him that fights more like he did in his early days. And then we actually offer, if you get the game at Best Buy, we offer Big John McCarthy as a fighter. A lot of people are aware that Big John is trained in jiu-jitsu and originally intended to be a fighter, and so now you get the opportunity to experience Big John as a fighter in the game. But those are the main unlocks from a they're basically based on retail promotions, but within the game there'll be some other classic fighters that you can unlock, but those are not specific to the Xbox 360 or the PlayStation 3.
Now, something else that EA MMA features that the UFC series never tackled was fighter entrances. Talk about that, Randy.
Yeah, we have some guys on our roster that have some very well-known entrances. One being Fedor. I think a lot of people get chills when they see Fedor's entrance, and that's part of capturing who these guys are and their personalities, especially when you have guys in the game like Mayhem Miller. So we wanted to make sure we had that, and it's also a way to kind of add some character to where you're fighting. So as you're working your way up through in your career mode, it's kind of a payoff too of getting to the big time. So like when you first start out, there is no entrance. You start off in the cage. You're fighting in a very small arenas, and then once you get to Strikeforce or you get to a Japanese promotion, then you get that entrance, and you have your own walkout, and you have your own walkout song and stuff like that. So it's just a way of adding character to either your created character or bringing out the character of the fighters that are in our game.
Now, a feature that has garnered a lot of excitement among fans is the use of pride rules, so to speak, which involves stomps and soccer kicks on the ground. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, what we really wanted to do in Japan is, we have fighters from multiple organizations, and, looking at Japan, we created a promotion called Mystic, and the reason for doing that is that it enabled us to kind of take everything that was, a Japanese MMA and kind of bring it together into a promotion that we created. So you are allowed to have soccer kicks, and you are allowed to have head stomps, and it's a cool way to experience something different in a different organization. I can tell you that from doing it, it's a very fulfilling way to end a fight, and it's something that we've been listening to our fans for over a year now. Is when we announced the title at E3 last year, we put a forums up, and we've had a lot of people come in and discussing the game, and we've been very active in listening to what the fans want, and they've really helped us shape this game, and it's something that they really wanted. So it's something that we made sure that we added to the game, and I think what it does is it provides another nuance just to the organization in Japan. We also have Vale Tudo rules. When you're in Brazil, which is I think a 30-minute time limit. There's no rounds; it's just one round, and everything's allowed: elbows, head stomps, soccer kicks, the whole nine. So, it just provides a lot of diversity to fighting in different parts of the world. It's not just cosmetic.
Now, EA MMA features action in both the ring and the cage. What are some of the differences as far as playability goes between the two?
Well, we also offer two types of cages. So we have the Strikeforce cage, but then we also have a circle cage and the boxing ring. It changes your strategy within the game because it's different size area. You can work people up against the cage, and then in a ring you can work people up against the ropes. So we do have physics in both of those. But it just provides a different fighting area that you can take different angles, and our game is very based in strategy and timing and things of that sort. So you can really utilize the area that you're fighting in to your advantage by fighting in those different venues. Now,
can you talk a little bit about the overall control scheme of the game?
So we have something in the game called Total Strike Control. Fight Night did have Total Punch Control, which is it maps the striking to the right analog stick. We did make some changes to it to make it work better for mixed martial arts. But we also have you have a choice. You can actually change if you're more familiar with striking with buttons and you prefer that. Then you can change and you can do that. You can do your ground game and your grappling off of the stick. So you will have a choice in that regard, but we feel really, really good about it. The Total Strike Control, people that have played it feel like it's very intuitive. The buttons are intuitive in that you hit the Y button is the topmost button, so things that are kind of have an up feel to them are mapped to that button. So like going for a clinch or standing up when you're on the ground, things of that sort are mapped to that. The B button is the most is the lower button. That's for takedowns and advancing on the ground. So it feels very good because you do what you feel like you should do in order to get to where you need to go. And a lot of that is based in timing as far as blocking the takedown or getting up out of someone's guard and things like that. But we did want to make sure that we provided a choice though, because we do realize that some people really like the right analog stick, but some people really like buttons.
Now, the biggest complaint in regards to this year's UFC game was the difficulty involved in successfully pulling off and defending submissions. How exactly will submissions be executed and defended in EA MMA?
Yeah, so to go for a submission in the game, you hit the X button, and it's not a little more simplistic than what it is. You actually have to set everything up that you do in the game. So that our ground game and talking with guys like Boss Rutan and Randy and folks like that, their information to us was that you really, when you're on the ground, the idea is pass to strike, strike to pass, and then setting up your submission. So utilizing your striking to set something up. So you really have to. We use rumble in the stick in your controller. You get a small rumble when something's about to happen. So if you just keep on trying it for submissions, the other person's going to know it's a submission and they know to block that. But if you're utilizing punches, you get that same rumble, so you can kind of set up going for a submission. And then once you get the submission in, then it's a submission battle. So if you button mash, then you're going to burn all your stamina and you're not going to get the submission, or you're going to get submitted. You really have to kind of manage your stamina. So it's a little bit of a tug-of-war match where you're managing your stamina and trying to get the submission locked in. So it's a little bit more based in kind of what a real submission would be. Like, if a fighter really freaks out and tenses up, then, they'll get submitted. Or, if they stay calm and work their way out of it, then they'll get out. And that's what we base the submissions on.
Now, this may be a bit pretentious of me to ask, figuring the game hasn't even hit shelves yet. But is there any word on whether EA MMA will be an annual title for EA Sports, or are there plans to release it every other year?
Yeah, the intention is to alternate with Fight Night. Instead, it would not be an annual title. There's a lot that goes into making a game. Like I said, we've been working on this game for 2.5 years. Granted, it's the first edition of it, but we really want to take our time and making sure that we put enough into the game to make it different and add enough depth to it that would make it worthy of the next edition. So we would take a year off.
And before we get going, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners, Randy?
Yeah, I mean, I just like just to let everybody know that the guys that are working on this game, and if you come to our site and see our videos, we feature a lot of our guys working on this game. That they're really passionate about the sport, love the sport of MMA. They take in every fight, regardless of what promotion it is, and they're really dedicated to putting out the best mixed martial arts game that's ever been out there. So, I think that come October 19th, when they pick up the game on Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3, they'll see that we have a really great mixed martial arts experience.